before I actually hand it over to Stina and Catrina, I'm going to play a short video that was prepared by them, introducing you to Tromsø, Norway, a gorgeous place. So here are Stina and Catrina with a poem about Tromsø.
When the coastal steamer is approaching Tromsø, you will be stunned by the beauty you'll see. The fireworks way up in the mountainside, a blistering cold New Year's Eve. Northern lights flaming and dancing above you, kids playing out in the snow, having fun. And then, late in January, again we can see the sun. If you're a globetrotter, a trekker, a tourist, or just a friend I have not yet met, I promise you will have a great time in Tromsø and make a lot of new friends, you bet. Tromsø is known for its beauty and the amazing Arctic Cathedral. And in the dark and cold January, we have our own international film festival. In February, it's Arctic Rodeo with Rudolph and Donner and Blitzen too. Or go hiking with polar dogs on the mountains. Or go with a modern skidoo. March is the month to go skiing. Sit in a cabin, having a great time outside. In April, the snow is still coming. In a Sami tent, the Lavvo, you'll feel all right. May 17th, hooray! It's still snowing. In our national bunads, almost everyone is dressed up. But finally spring, the seagulls are singing, and the kids are picking small buttercups. June, midsummer eve bonfires are burning. The mosquitoes are dancing in the soothing breeze. And one more thing, did you know that the Arctic Ocean never freezes? July, the midnight sun glowing all through the night. You are fishing halibut outside of Senja Island. It's nice and you feel all right. Then August, and the weather is changing. Rainy and windy, but you are outdoor, riding horses just like a cowboy, and you still want to visit us more. September, autumn is coming. You hike in the mountains or go in our big cable car. Go biking over the tundra, and no, you haven't seen it all even far. November, the sun is leaving. The polar night, dark time again, but it's charming to see the cold and wild raging ocean, and then you really feel free. Free as the bold Arctic eagle or the humpback whales down in the deep. December, Tromsø is silent, but oh no, don't you think that we sleep. When candles lit up the windows and snowflakes silently falls, we drink hot Arctic coffee, and not only Rudolph is red on the nose. So may I make you a suggestion? Take a hint, my advice. If you're looking for something quite special, visit the Arctic, a true paradise. Visit us way up in northern Norway, and I will place you a bet. The northernmost part of Norway is the place that you'll never forget. A warm welcome to Arctic Norway.
Wonderful. And without further ado, Catrina and Stina, I'm going to pass over to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the video showing a little bit of our beautiful town.
Yep.
You also saw a little bit of the sacred mountain that we have in Tromsø. And that mountain is the scene where my first story is from way up north in at 69 parallel, where the midnight sun and the northern light are. There was a grumpy old troll that lived up in a mountain called Tromsdalstind. He lived there all by himself, and he had a really good time. His name was Tromsdalstind Troll, so he was named after the mountain where he lived in. The Tromsdalstind Troll loved being alone. He could sit for hours outside his cave and look out over the mountains. And he could look so far. Everywhere he could see was his kingdom. He loved the peace and quiet up on the mountain. He could enjoy his solitude when sitting by the campfire, watching the northern light dancing above him in the dark winter nights. One day, another troll came and moved into the neighboring mountain called Flea. It was a female troll. Her name was Guri Souphead. She was looking for an old, ugly, handsome troll she could marry. Guri Souphead wanted to marry him, and she did not give up or even take no for an answer. Every evening, just after sunset, she came out of her cave and she would holler over to the Tromsdalstind Troll. Tromsdalstind Troll, are you there? And the Tromsdalstind Troll, he answered, well, I'm sitting here and I'm sitting here. Would you bet, please? No, 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 never. I'm never gonna marry you. This happened every night as clockwork. And he was trying to find a way to get rid of her. And finally he decided that he would take a really long vacation. He packed his backpack and put on his 7-mile boots, and then he left as soon as the sun was going down. Guri Souphead did not want him to leave. And most of all, she wanted him to take him with him. But the Tromsdalstind Troll, no, I'm going on my own. You have to be home. And you can do a really good thing while I'm away. You can move. Guri was crying when he left. And the last thing the troll heard when he passed the Malangsgren was that Guri was sobbing and waving goodbye. The Tromsdalstind Troll, he traveled over mountains. He was traveling through oceans, and he didn't stop until he got down to the Mediterranean Sea. There he found himself the most beautiful little island. Oh, it had a sandy beach on the south end, and it was a lot of palm trees, and there was a lot of tunnels inside, caves. This is where I'm going to settle down. He enjoyed his vacation, Every evening he was out swimming in the warm water. He felt great, and he was happy for a while. One night, while he was sitting outside with his campfire, looking up at the sky, and he suddenly realized there was something missing. What was that? It's been so many hundred years since I've been up north, so what is it? And then he finally remembered the northern lights, the long polar nights, the raging Arctic oceans, tempest and storms. Oh, he had to admit to himself that he actually missed Guri's soup a little bit too. But after all these years, how could he leave his beautiful and beloved island? He thought long and hard about it, and a solution finally popped up. He went and made a thick rope of the palm leaves. And then he took the rope and he pulled it, he put it around the island, and then he started to pull and pull and pull until the island budged. The old troll then took the island on his back and started his long way back home. After a really long walk, the old troll could see his beloved Tromsdalstind mountain in the distance. And there, he gently laid the island in front of the big mountain. And he crawled all the way back up to his cave. And all of a sudden, the door in the mountain opened, and out came Goody Souphead. And she was not happy. She said that he had been so selfish and going on a vacation without him. She wanted to marry him now. And boy, was she surprised when he agreed. And they got married, and they had a lot of troll babies running around the mountains of Tromsdalstind and Fløya. And every morning, just before the sun would rise, she would put her troll babies to bed, and she would sing them a lullaby. Når trollmora lagt sine 11 små troll og bundet dem fast i halen, da synger hun sakte for 11 små troll de vakreste ord hun kjenner. O ai, 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 poff. O ai, 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 poff. O ai, 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 poff, poff. O ai, 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 poff. And this is how the island of Tromsø got to be where it is. And if you ever come up to Tromsø, you can see for yourself. We have this beautiful little island with a beach in the south, a lot of palms, even though they are hedgehogs.
No, hogweed.
Hogweeds. And we have a lot of tunnels. And if you are up early in the morning before the sun comes up, and you listen really carefully, you might even hear Guri Souphead sing.
I have never heard that when I've been up early, but I wish I could. Well, up here in Tromsø, and in all of Norway, we have just celebrated the Sami People's Day. And since we just had the Sami People's Day, the 6th of February, I would like to share with you a story about the return of the sun. You know, the sun is away from November till 21st of January, 21st of November till 21st of January every year. It's dark time here. So it's dark when you go up in the morning, it's dark when you go to work, and it's dark when you eat lunch, and it's dark when you come home. So, and the reason for this is that there is a ring. In Sami language, it is Beivasgjärnu. Isn't that correct, Catrine?
Yeah, Beivasgjärdi.
I don't speak Sami, but Catrine will help with some Sami words. So if you pay attention, you might even learn a couple of Sami words in this fairy tale. Beivasgjärdi is the name of the sun's ring. Beivas is the sun. So a long time ago, there was a brave little girl that lived in a labo in a Sami village. And she loved being out in the winter time. She had so much fun in the snow, playing around and having fun. And she was longing for the sun to come back in January again. And one evening she was out having fun again, when all of a sudden the mountain trembled, and out of the mountain came an ugly witch.
Skabmadu Aidu.
Skabmadu Aidu, okay. And that's the dark time witch. And she said, "You can be as happy as you want, little girl, but I'll tell you, I have the sun's ring, and I'm going to hide it so no one can find it, and it will be dark time and dark forever. It will never be sunlight again." And Skabmadu Aidu, she disappeared. And the little girl, she stood there and she was so sad. And she then realized that the only one that could find the sun's ring would be herself. So she decided to go out and look if she could find the sun's ring. And she started to walk, and she walked and she walked over the tundra and some of the mountain plateaus in the Arctic. And she finally came to a forest. And in the midst of that big forest, she saw a big reindeer. It was a big male reindeer. Sarvis, a big male reindeer. And the reindeer looked at the little girl with big brown eyes, and he said, "Hey, little girl, what are you doing here all by yourself in the middle of the forest, and it's dark?" And the little girl said, "Well, Skabmadu Aidu, the dark time witch, she have taken the sun's ring, and she's hiding it, so it will never be sunshine again. Can you help me to find the sun's ring?" And Sarvis, the big reindeer, said, "Yeah, we need the sun. When we get the reindeer calves are born in the spring, they would need the sun's warmth. And the sun will melt the snow so they can find food. So climb on my back and I'll take you and we will see if we can find the sun's ring." And the little girl climbed up on the back of the big reindeer, and they walked through all the forests and tundras there is. But they couldn't find the sun's ring anywhere. And finally they came to a big, big, steep mountain. What was the name of that mountain?
Ajagaisa.
Ajagaisa, Grandfather Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And the big reindeer said, "Well, little girl, we didn't find the sun's ring, but maybe you can climb up on this mountain and see if anyone else can help you. Because I cannot climb this mountain. I have to go back to the forest to wait for the reindeer calves to be born." And then the reindeer turned around and walked back to the forest. And the little girl, she climbed up that big, steep mountain. Several times she fell off the mountain, but she climbed up again and again. She didn't give up. And finally, when she came up to the top of the mountain, she was not alone. There was a huge, big eagle that was sitting there.
Gwaskin.
Gwaskin, that's Sami for eagle. And Gwaskin, the big eagle, looked at the little girl and said, "Now, little girl, what are you doing here all by yourself this time of year up on this mountain?" And the little girl said, "Well, Skabmad and Waidi have taken the sun's ring, and I have to find it. I'm the only one that can find it. So can you please help me go in all the directions of the world so we can find it?" "Yes," said the eagle, "I will help you. Climb up on my back." And she climbed up on the big eagle's back, and they flew east and west and north and south, but they didn't find the sun's ring anywhere. And finally, the big eagle landed down on the beach. Now we are at the end of the world, and this is the big, endless ocean, and I cannot fly out there. I have to go back to my mountain, said the big eagle. But maybe you can get any help here.
At the Stora Merra.
Stora Merra, that's the big ocean.
Mm.
Yeah, Stora Merra. And the little girl sat down at the beach and she listened to the waves and the raging ocean. And all of a sudden she heard something and she looked around.
Help! Help!
Someone was yelling for help, and she went down there to see what it was. And it was a huge whale that was tangled up in some fishermen's nets.
Fakan.
Fakan, that's whale.
Yeah.
Fakan, okay. "Hey, big whale," said the little girl, "I can help you, untangle you from all these fishing nets." And the whale was so happy, and he said, "Well, since you have helped me, maybe I can do something to help you." "Yeah, maybe you can help me," said the little girl. "The reindeer couldn't find the sun's ring, neither could the big eagle. So the only place I haven't been looking for the sun's ring is in the ocean. Can you help me?" The big whale said, "Yeah, just you climb up on my big back and I'll take you down deep, deep, deep into the ocean to see if we can find the sun's ring, because all the creatures in the ocean also needs the sun to have a good life." And the little girl climbed up on the back and they went down into the ocean, down to the sea forest, the kelp and seaweed forests. And they swam around there, deep, deep down in the ocean, as far down deep as you can go. And finally, they came to 2 big boulders under the water. And the little girl saw something that was glittering in the deep. And they went down there. And she took her hand out, and in her hand, all of a sudden, she grasped around it, and it was the sun's ring. At the deepest place the Skabmad and Waidi could find, she was hiding the sun's ring there, never thinking that the girl would come down in the ocean. And the little girl, she was holding hard to the ring. And the big whale swam all the way back to the beach. And the little girl was standing there on the beach, holding the sun's ring. And then all of a sudden, behind her, the mountain started to tremble, and Skabmad and Waidi was back again. "Give me back my ring, it's mine," she yelled. "No," said the little girl, "now I'm the keeper of the sun's ring. I will never give it to you." And Skabmad and Waidi, she just disappeared and was never seen again. And after that day, the little girl always took care of the sun's ring. So we know for sure, because every 21st of January, all people in the Arctic go outside and we look to the south to see if we can see the first rays of the sun coming back after a long winter. Thanks to the little brave girl, we still have the day of the sun. And we have...
Yes, that's how it was, and that's how it went.
Yeah, so that was the little fairy tale about the sun's ring. And now Catrine has another story for you.
Mm-hmm.
From Ulsfjord.
Yeah. Way up north in the land of the Northern Lights, there is a little point on a peninsula that's called Lyngstuva. It lies there in front of all the oceans around, and all the fjords in the area. A long time ago, there was a salmon living there. This big salmon wanted to be a king. So he built himself a castle right below the Lyngstuva, under the sea. He then proclaimed it to be his kingdom. And he was to be the king. He loved to be a king. Proud, he swam around, looking at himself, gray and silvery. One day, a haddock came by, and she asked if she could be allowed to enter Ulsfjord so she could feed the poor people there. The Salmon King, no, he said, no, you cannot come in there. This is my kingdom, so you cannot go there. And at the same time, he smacked it over the ice. Or no, it's ice. And the back of his kilt. So, to this very day, all the haddocks have a dark spot right here. The Salmon King felt more and more powerful as the days went by. And then one day, a lazy halibut came crossing the sandy banks by Lyngstuva. What do you want? Said the Salmon King. Was wondering if I could swim into Lyngenfjord to feed the poor people there, said the halibut. No way, replied the Salmon King. And at the same time, he took one of the halibut's eyes and pulled it over to the same side as the other. And the halibut, he got really sour. And he swam away as fast as he could. And to this very day, all halibuts now have both eyes on the same side of the head, and they are always sour. Not after came a red rockfish, whimsically swimming and singing towards Lyngstuva. The Salmon King stopped him and said, "Where do you think you're going?" "Oh, well, actually, I don't know. But maybe I could go into Gretsund and feed the poor people there," said the rockfish. "Oh, wait," the king replied. At the same time, he smacked the red rockfish over its eyes, so they got big and swollen. The little fish blushed and became red in that moment. And ever since, all the red rockfish have big swollen eyes and are red. So now you know that. A while later, a rockling, nicknamed Lynx, came swimming along. He was big and strong and quite grumpy. When the king stopped him outside of Lyngstuva and asked what he wanted, he said, as the truth was, that he was going into Storfjord to feed the poor people there. Then he stood up to the king and said the king should stop being so unfriendly to all the other fish in the ocean. The Salmon King thought about it and then actually agreed. And then they called out to all the fish around the area, and the king opened the fjords to every one of them, so they could swim into the fjords and feed the poor. But they should never forget that he was the king, fit for a king's table and a royalty among fish. And so it has been to this very day.
Yeah. So now you know the story about the Salmon King and all the fishes. How it was a long, long time ago. And finally, I'm going to tell you a story. And this is a story from the Vesterheim region, that's a bit south of Tromsø. And it's more than 350 years old. And it's called Lady Kvitserk of Utrøst Island. A long time ago, there was a poor young fisherman who lived all by himself by a fjord. He didn't have much in life, but he had a boat and an old boathouse. And the best thing he knew was to sit outside his boathouse to listen to the waves and to go out and fish his daily dinner, because the fjord was filled with fish. And one evening he was sitting outside his boathouse and he could see the fish jumping out in the ocean, and he wanted to go out to have something to...
Hallo? Er det noen hjemme? Ja.
Ja, jeg er live på en sånn der forteller på nett, så du må bare komme inn og være helt stille, vi er snart ferdig. Yeah, and he wanted to go out and fish for dinner, so he jumped into his little rowing boat and he went out to fish. But the minute he came out in the middle of the fjord, all of a sudden the big thick sea fog came rolling down from the mountains, surrounding his boat, and the waves got bigger and bigger. And everyone that's out in a big rowing boat out in the Arctic Ocean knows that they have to be very, very careful when they're out there because of the draug. And the draug is a big sea monster that lives under the ocean in his half rowing boat. And whenever there is a storm, he comes up and he tries to take your boat and drag it under, because then you will end up as a draug yourself. And as this poor young fisherman was looking over the waves, it was like he could see the draug coming up from the ocean, trying to grab him. So he lay down in the bottom of the boat, and there he fell asleep. He didn't wake up until the next morning, when the boat was by a beach. And when he looked around, it was a place he had never been before. He could see big sheep with white wool up in the mountainside and cows, but he didn't see any people. But out on the point of the place was a big white mansion. So he wanted to find out where he was. So he wanted to go over to that big mansion and ask how he could get back home again. So he walked over there, and when he knocked on the door, no one was opening. And finally the door opened by itself. And he went inside, and in the kitchen there was a big table with all the best food you could ever think of. It was like boiled fish and fried fish and cooked fish, gratinated fish, oven-baked fish. And he has to try a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And afterwards, of course, he needed to have some coffee. And everybody knows that when you've had a lot of good Arctic fish, you get really, really tired and you want to have a little nap. So he wanted to find a bed where he could lay down for a little bit. But he couldn't find any beds there. But in the corner of the room, there was a stair up to the second level. So he climbed up the stairs, and it was a hallway, and in the end of the hallway was a door. So he walked over there and he opened the door, and with a squeak it opened. And in that room there was a bed. And lo and behold, someone was sleeping in that bed. So he tiptoed over, and in the bed was a beautiful princess, and she was sleeping. It was the most beautiful princess he had ever seen in his life. Well, actually, he hadn't seen any princesses before, but she was so beautiful. He couldn't take his eyes from her. And the same minute, the princess opened her eyes and looked at him and said, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" "Oh, my name is Bodvar and I'm a fisherman. And it was a big storm and it took my boat over here. Can you please tell me, who are you and where am I?" And the princess looked at him and she said, with sad eyes, "I wish I could tell you my name, but I can't. You see, this island is under the spell of a big, gigantic troll. And he have said that if I ever tell anyone my name and the name of the island, he will come and he will marry me. And I can assure you, I don't want to be married to a big, ugly troll. So I cannot tell you my name or the name of this place." A little while later, Bodvar and the princess were sitting by the kitchen table eating some more fish. And they got to know each other a little bit more, and Bodvar looked at the beautiful princess and she looked at him, and then Bodvar said to her, "Well, actually, you have such a beautiful place here. I wonder if I can stay here with you and help you with the sheep and the farm and to go fishing and stay here." And the princess blushed and she said, "Yes, I was thinking the same. You can stay here with me. I wouldn't mind." But then Bodvar leaned over the table and said to her, "Well, if I'm going to stay here, lukk døra. Stay here, you better tell me your name." And then she said, "Well, I'll tell you, but you must not tell a living soul." And then she said to him, "My name is Lady Kvitserg of Utrøst Island." A little while later, Bodvar went down to the boathouse. Lukk døra. Ytterdøra. Bodvar went down to the boathouse, and he wanted to take his boat into her boathouse. And all of a sudden, the big thick sea fog surrounded him again. And in the fog, it was like he could hear voices from his home village. "Bodvar, where are you? Bodvar, are you there? Bodvar?" And Bodvar answered, "Well, I'm fine. I'm staying with Lady Kvitserk of Utrøst Island." But in the same minute he realized what he had done. He had told them her name and the name of the island. So he ran back to the White Mansion, but Lady Kvitserk was gone. Bodvar understood that he needed to find her before the troll married her. So he ran out of the mansion and over to the other side of the island, to another fjord. And there it was a little house. And he went over and he knocked on the door. And inside the house he could hear a squeaky old voice. "Come in." And he opened the door, and in the house was an old lady, and she was knitting. She asked, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" "Oh, I'm Bodvar and I'm looking for Lady Kvitserk of Utrøst Island. Have you seen her?" "No," said the little old lady. "I'm just sitting here and I'm knitting. But you can follow this ball of yarn and then you'll see what happens." And she took a ball of yarn and she threw it out the door. And Bodvar, he just had to turn around and he ran after the ball of yarn. It bounced and it bounced all the way over to the next fjord. And there it was a little cabin. And he knocked on that door. And inside he could hear a squeaky old voice. Said, "Come in." And in that little cabin, there was an even older lady. And she was baking some Arctic lefse. "Who are you and what are you doing here?" she said. "Oh, I'm Bodvar and I'm looking for Lady Kvitserk of Utrøst Island. Have you seen her? I have to find her." And the little old lady said, "No, I haven't seen her. But you can follow this rolling pin and then you'll see what happens." And she threw the rolling pin out the door. And Bolvar, he ran after it, all the way over to the next fjord. And down by the ocean there was a old little hut. And he knocked on the door and no one answered, so he knocked harder. And the door opened by itself, and in the darkest corner of that little hut was an even older lady. She must have been at least 150 years old, and she was scooping water from one barrel to another. And she asked, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" "Oh, I'm Bodvar and I'm looking for Lady Kvitserk." "Oh, you don't need to scream, I'm not deaf," she said. "Well, I'm looking for Lady Kvitserk, have you seen her?" said Bodvar. Oh, the little lady looked at her watch and she said, "Well, can you hear the church bells? I think Lady Kvitserk is the one that's going to be married right about now." "Oh, you have to help me," said Bodvar. "Please, you have to help me." And then the little lady took a scoop of water and she said, "Take this scoop of water and bring it to the church, and then you can throw it over the troll and all his friends that he brings with him. And then you'll see what happens, but you must not spill a single drop." And then she gave the scoop of water to Bodvar, and Bodvar took it and he started to run up towards the church. And when he came up to the church, he could see a big white wagon that was pulled by 6 white horses. And in the wagon was Lady Kvitserk in a beautiful white wedding gown. And beside her sat the biggest, ugliest troll you had ever seen. And the troll yelled, "Get out of my way, I'm going to be married today." And Bodvar said, "Let's see about that." And he took the scoop of water and he threw it over the troll and his entourage. And the troll just evaporated in thin air, never to be seen again. And in front of Bodvar was Lady Kvitserk and the 3 old ladies, because that was the godmother of Lady Kvitserk. And then Bodvar and Kvitserk went into the church, and of course they got happily married. And then they went back to the white mansion on the point, and they lived happily ever after in the land of the Northern Lights. So that was the story from Vesterheim.
Oh, these were just delightful stories, Stina and Catrine. Thank you so much. So one of the questions that we got is asking each of you, how did you get into storytelling? How did you discover storytelling? What made you fall in love with this?
Well, I've been storytelling since I was about 8 or 9 years old. I was storytelling under the front porch for neighboring kids and such every evening before we went our separate ways. So, and ever since I've loved storytelling and listening to old people in my dad's village when they were telling stories to each other. And yeah,
Wow.
I've been telling stories for 60 years almost.
Wow. Catrine, how about you?
I've always loved stories and listening to stories, but it was when I started working together with Stina that I really understood the magic of storytelling. And then she lured me into starting telling stories, and no, I'm loving it.
Excellent.
So I haven't been telling stories for that many years.
But you do it very well.
Yeah, and now we travel together all over the world sharing stories.
Yes, I think one thing that this didn't come as a question from the audience, but I think you should tell folks about the trip that you have coming up to the US in case they live someplace where you'll be traveling, in case you have a storytelling event at any of those places.
Nothing is planned or scheduled yet, other than we are going to Scanfest in California, the 5th and 6th of April in Thousand Oaks, north of Los Angeles. But we are traveling a month before that.
April, March 11th. We will be in where, Stina?
Pedersen in North Dakota. at a Sons of Norway meeting, and we will probably share some stories there.
Excellent.
We will be in North Dakota first, and then we will go by Amtrak all the way to Seattle and then down to Oregon. And then we will take the train down to Scanfest. And then back to Minneapolis the 7th of April till the 10th of April.
Wonderful.
And then we fly home.
Stay tuned, everybody, in case Stina and Catrine are coming to a Sons of Norway Lodge or Scandinavian museum near you.
You never know. All of a sudden we do.
Excellent.
We often get questioned when we come to places. Oh, can you come here?
I'm sure.
Yep.
Thank you.
So another question that we got is asking why storytelling is such an important part of culture. How does it help preserve culture?
It has always been important, storytelling. People have been telling stories around the campfire since the dawn of time. You learn traditions and culture by that, and it's a lot of morals also, and ethics.
Morals, yeah, like the morals to the stories.
Always outconquer evil.
But I think it's really important to listen to stories, because we are overwhelmed with pictures and sounds all through the day, especially kids, and the to sit down, to just have someone telling without seeing anything, it gets the imagination spinning.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's really important.
Absolutely. Sandra just added a question in the chat asking, are trolls always bad in Norwegian and Sami and Kven stories?
Most of them are.
Yep.
Well, at least they are dumb.
Yeah. Easy to fool.
Easy to fool, yeah.
Yeah.
Always outsmarted by a young human or.
That makes them a good bad guy in a story for little kids,
Yeah.
because the little kids can imagine outsmarting them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Somebody asked in the question and answer function, and I answered it by typing it. But if somebody is interested in getting a hold of you before you come to the US in hopes that they could hire you to do storytelling, I said that they could email me and I could put them in touch with you. Does that work?
Yeah.
That will work.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Greg, you got a question about the sun story compared to moon stories.
Yeah, so the one question that came to me was, we had the story about how the sun came back. Are all of the stories about the sun, or is there ever any stories about like how the moon gets so big at some times, or how the moon got there? Is it just about the sun, or are there stories of the moon as
No,
well?
there are stories about the moon too, and because the moon and the sun are strong symbols in the Sami beliefs and tradition. So, but especially this time of year is when the sun returns. It's a lot of stories that has to do with sun and the dark time.
That makes sense. David asked another troll question. We hear a lot of troll-based stories from Norwegian folk culture. Do the Sami stories and Kven stories, do those also feature trolls?
The Sami stories have stallos. That's the Sami version of trolls, but it's not actually exactly the same. But the stallos are also easy to fool and always are outsmarted by humans.
Excellent.
The Kven stories, I haven't
No.
heard so many with trolls in it.
No,
they have
they
the
don't.
lion.
They don't have that much trolls. They have other kind of natural creatures that or mythical creatures
Mhm.
So not that many similarities, but there are creatures that are scary in those stories too. But
And I guess I should offer a clarification. There are likely some folks who don't know the term Kven. Kven is another indigenous people from Northern Europe. Is that right? From Scandinavia?
they are not considered to be indigenous people. They are one of the folk groups that are acknowledged as being that belongs up in the Arctic, in northern Finland and northern Sweden and mostly northern Norway. But you have Kven people also quite way down south as well. But most Kven
They are
people,
mostly forest Finns.
yeah, down south there are forest Finns. Yeah.
Got it.
Mm.
Well, we are coming to the end of our time, but a few folks are asking about how they can get more of you and more Sami folktales. Vesterheim does carry a collection of stories of Sami folktales that we can include a link to in the email that goes out with the recording in a couple of weeks. We will also include a link to your Facebook page where people can follow along and learn more, and to your YouTube channel. And from those places, they'd be able to find stories, storybooks, and CDs and other resources that you have available. Is that right?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good, good, good. Well, this has been just a fabulous day. Thank you so much for being part of this.
It's been fun.
It's been very fun.
Yeah.
I also want to say a thank you to our collections, exhibitions, development, accounting, and communications and marketing teams for everything they do to help make programs like this possible behind the scenes. We did record today's program, and we'll be sending out the link to that when it gets added to our YouTube channel in a couple of weeks. We'll also send you a link later today with there's a survey that we like to ask folks to take. And so if you are watching along at home, we would appreciate your feedback. We don't get our feelings hurt. We want to make sure that we are offering the kind of online and in-person programming that best supports our members' needs. And so please be honest about that and things that you hope to see in the future, things that you've enjoyed in the past, and things that we can do better. Lastly, if you enjoyed today's program, please consider becoming a member or contributing a gift online. Programs like this would not be possible without folks like you. As we like to say, you can't have a folk art school without the folks. And when it comes to free programs like this, it's especially true. Members and donors make this absolutely possible. So thank you to everybody who supports Vesterheim and is already a member. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Mark your calendars now, because in just under 2 weeks, registration for our spring and summer classes opens February 20th at noon. A PDF of the class catalog has already been added to Vesterheim's website, and class catalogs will be going in the mail shortly, so they should be arriving to people's homes. We hope that you will find programs throughout the summer to join us for. Stina, Catrine, as always, it is a joy to get to spend an hour with you. Thank you both so very much.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. Have a great day, everybody.
Well, here
Vesterheim.
it's night.
Yes, have a good evening in Norway.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Goodbye
Goodbye,
for now.
goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Vesterheim.
Nej, det här boll.